Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode of What's Next, Life After Sports. Super excited for today's episode. I've got a good friend of mine, Brian Garrett, joining me. Brian played college golf at the University of Davidson and has now moved into the corporate investment banking world at one of the big banks. So really looking forward to today's conversation. Brian's an absolute superstar and great friend of mine. So Brian, thanks for joining me, man. And what's going on in your world? How are you these days?
No, it's been good, Louis. And it's I got to listen to some of your other, folks on the podcast. It's been great. So happy to be on. Thanks for having me. I think I'm number 5, if my count is correct. So,
I think
uh,
you might
so
be, which is great. Lucky number five, right? Isn't that what
yeah.
everyone says?
Oh well, that's what you say, not me. But no, it's been great, man. And yeah, actually here in San Antonio, I went to the NBA Finals game as a Spurs
Wow.
fan. Yes, last night, and that was tough. That was a tough ending. But we're here playing some golf, seeing some family, and of course, lucky to be with you here today, man.
That's awesome. Did you actually go to the game in San Antonio or are you just in town for it?
It did. Yes, we did.
Wow.
Why I was originally planning to come home anyway to see family, play some golf here. But yeah, so happened the Spurs made the finals. I had a few buddies wanting to go. We went. It was an awesome time. Too many Knicks fans in San Antonio, by the way. It was crazy, but yeah, great time, and it just worked out great. So you never know. They have to win 2 more. Holding out
Okay.
hope. Fingers crossed.
All right. Well, I'm sure they can make a bit of a comeback here, but I've also got some pretty good buddies of mine who are Knicks fans too. So I think
Sure.
they're on the
I'm
other
sure.
end of it. I don't have a dog in the fight on this one, but it has been a very good NBA playoffs from what I have seen. So, but right now, today is Super Saturday in the baseball world. It's Super Regional Saturday. And, some teams are going to clinch. Looks like West Virginia's about to clinch and head to the World Series for their first time. I hope I didn't jinx that. If there's any West Virginia fans watching this, I hope your game is over and you've won. But yeah, Super Saturday, great time, really exciting as a college baseball fan. But yeah, man. Let's dive in, dude. We got about a half an hour or so here, so super excited to hear your
Good.
story. And why don't we kick it off with your recruitment story into golf? So when did you start playing golf? What other sports did you play? And
Yeah.
what was your recruitment journey like and how you went from Texas to Davidson?
Yeah, and for those of you listening and not sure, right, everybody knows Steph Curry, so I like to call Davidson Steph Curry land, right, just north of Charlotte in North Carolina. It was definitely a winding journey. I had wanted to stay, well, even before that. So I grew up playing. Both my parents played. Come from a big golf family.
Nice.
Really enjoyed the sport, but I did play a lot of tennis. Like I played basketball, even a little bit of baseball. Like you, Louis, of course, not as good though. I really enjoyed playing a bunch of sports growing up. Right, you've got golf a little bit more individual, but had some dabble with some team stuff. But I always kind of knew, look, like my talent was in golf. That was kind of where I wanted to play in school and even beyond, quite frankly. So as many people know, the recruiting process begins earlier or early, and it early and earlier. It seems like every year now. But I do remember this was at a time where like college coaches could come when you're seventh, eighth grade, freshman year, and offer you. And so I was playing a lot of junior tournaments. I wanted to stay in Texas. That honestly, that was the primary goal. I had no thoughts of like going outside of the state, and so, but I took academics pretty seriously. Like I felt like I'm putting a lot of effort into school, a lot of effort into my golf. Like I wanted to be able to go somewhere where I could do both and be, in a good place after school. Should I not play professional golf? And so, quite frankly, Rice was number one on my list. The coach didn't quite give me an offer. It was more of like, hey, if you can get into the school, like we'll give you a walk on spot. And like you, Louis, like Rice is a great school. It's hard to get into, right? And so, and TCU and Texas, like those were great schools, but I wasn't a top, 30 or 40 player nationally. And for those who don't know golf all that well, I know Matt Copeland's a good friend of you and I. It's like he's been on the
Friend of the
pod.
pod.
Yes, friend of the pod. Right, they're smaller teams. They're between 9 to 12 people. I think there's even a cap now at 9 or 10 people. So, right, divide that by 4 classes and max like 3 a class. So, it's hard to go to a big time school, and that was the dream, right, to go play at the University of Texas for me, hook 'em, still hook 'em to this day, but so, yeah, I started looking, like, elsewhere. I played a lot of junior tournaments in North Carolina in the Pinehurst area, and so my mom actually one day said, "Hey, by the way, like, we should go tour some schools while we're playing. Like, have you heard of Davidson?" I was like, "Yeah, like Steph Curry went there." Um, but I had no idea, right? Like the academic reputation, anything about it other than I knew like the finance world was kind of interesting to me. So yeah, I ended up playing there. I emailed the coach. He gave me like this one line response, Coach Straub, who by the way was great at my time, but he was like, "Yeah, I'll see you there at whatever my tea time was, 9:30." So it was great. I played well. I think he liked the way I kinda held myself on the course, and so, a week or 2 later, I committed. He gave me a phone call. I committed, but what's even interesting about that, Louis, though, is I took a visit to a school called Campbell, also in North Carolina.
Campbell
Um
Camels.
Yes, the Campbell Camels. I had talked to the Rice coach just before I was talking to the Campbell coach, and the Rice coach, told me the news, "Hey, you need to walk on," whatever. Campbell offered me before Davidson, so I actually took it. But when I was doing that junior tour circuit thing in North Carolina, I visited Campbell. I had kind of committed out of spite. The coaching staff was great. I really loved them, but just where the school was, the academic reputation for me, like at that time, just it wasn't a great fit. And I visited the campus, and then I was like, man, like this was a mistake.
Mhm.
Um, so I had it right, like a tough conversation with the coach back, look, like this is just isn't going to be the place for me. And he totally respected that and a lot of respect for him for this day. But, Davidson worked out just after that. I visited. I was like, this is the place where I belong. And it turned out a great 4 years.
That's awesome, man. I love that for you. It's a great journey. Bit of there's a lot of excitement to that journey as well. Like that wasn't a
Yeah.
smooth sailing sort of that 5-star recruit,
Uh,
sort of take your
yeah.
pick of where you want to go journey. You kind of had to get a little scrappy. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that you had to start your recruitment journey and initiate it. I
Yeah.
don't know, many people don't know this, but I showed my wife one time. I think I sent like 600 or 700 emails to colleges and college coaches in the US when I was
Yeah.
living in Australia trying to play over here in the US. It was crazy because I had professional offers coming out of high school in Australia and could have signed a professional major league contract, and that was super exciting. But for some reason colleges over here in the states just had no idea what to make of me, and it just made things really, quite honestly, interesting and somewhat hairy throughout the recruitment process. So it's
Yeah.
really difficult getting to see a kid. And it's interesting, you were in Texas but you did play here in North Carolina a lot, so pretty cool the
Yeah.
coach got to come see you in person. My journey, a lot of the guys were having to see video of me and make an assessment. When I went
Yeah.
to UCF, UCF actually signed me sight unseen, which was crazy. I had a few other schools that were really interested, that were making offers, but they made it sight unseen, which was crazy, through professional scouts and also through a lot of footage, game footage, draw footage, etc. They got their hands on, which I can't even imagine trying to do that. But
Yeah.
dude, that's really cool that you emailed the coach. He came out and saw you. You played really well, and it's been a really great propeller of your career, quite frankly. So you've done really well. Talk me through your
Yeah.
college career. Get in there as a freshman. Did you play? Like, talk me
Yeah.
through your 4 years there.
Yeah, and so this is going to be interesting. So I got in my freshman year. I remember we had qualifying. So for those who know golf, right, like only 5 travel, really, maybe 6, but you've got
Mhm.
9 or 10 guys, so you qualify, right? Just like you would Louis playing baseball. You got to back up at your position. So what? So yeah, I remember literally the second or third day I got there. I hadn't played the golf course they were playing. It was a really hard golf course called River Run. And
Yep.
I remember playing the first round of qualifying. I had never seen the back nine, really hard golf course, and I just remember, yeah, I had shot over 90, and I think for most people were like, "Wow, Division 1 golfer, like, shooting over 90, that's crazy, like, how did your coach even play you after that?" Um, that was tough. That was a tough journey. That was a nice big wake-up call, like, "Hey, like, this is these courses are long, like, the competition is strong, like, you just really have to get all your ducks in a row." Like, mentally, I was just just got to college, right? Like, had driven all the way to North Carolina, like, still unpacking my stuff, and here we are qualifying for our first tournament. It's just like it just hits you so fast that it was crazy. But I ended up, I went from shooting over 90 my first qualifying round to winning my first college event, 4 months later, like
Wow.
January. We played Wexford, actually, Matt Copeland, again, friend of the pod. He was there. Ended up winning at Wexford Plantation. So really came full circle super quick. I really had dedicated myself a lot. I got into a good routine. Um, so for there, Matt, though, or Louis, right, win the tournament. We play a few other tournaments, but then I'll never forget, it was spring break. We were in the like Fort Lauderdale airport playing a tournament coming back. We started seeing people with masks on. And now you got to remember, this is March
Yeah.
2020. And we're like, wow, like all these people wearing masks, apparently there was some flu thing going on in China. And we're just kind of making fun of it. We're like, wow, like
Yeah, we're all
what's
trying to
going on
figure it
over
out.
there?
Yep.
And literally, probably 3 days later, 48 hours, whatever, we get the call from the school that, hey, we're getting sent home. Like, this is the real deal. And so
Yep.
from there, Louis, it was kind of crazy, right? A lot of people have various experiences and stories from COVID. I was a little lucky, right? Golf course, natural social distancing. So it just kind of worked where I kept playing, practicing. I had some friends back home here. So we really had we made what we could, right, of the time.
Yep.
But I would say sophomore had a great year. Then I hit the roller coaster junior year, right? Like, I wanted to play pro golf. So I started prepping and playing over the summer, trying to raise money. But yeah, junior year, it did not go well. And it was challenging, right? I kept trying to get better, was feeling a little bit uncomfortable with my game, playing some hard courses. And so, it just, the end of junior year comes, I'm not in the lineup, and it's going, hey, like, I probably should start looking at jobs, right? And for those listening, right, the investment banking, the consulting, right, all those things are already passed. Like, I'm late to the cycle, and I'm going, okay, like, what can I do to put something on my resume to be the best version of myself come senior year, and what comes after that? Ended up interning at a wealth management firm with another golfer I know from back home. That was great. Super flexible. Could keep playing in my free time, and was able to learn a bit, in the financial institution space and whatnot. Then I had a great senior year. So that's what the golf again. I was up on
Wow.
the elevator, and that's when the thoughts of like, hey, I was interviewing with Wells Fargo and other firms. It was going well. Like, I got the Wells offer, long story short, it's like now I'm playing good golf. So it's like, hey, like, I tried to defer a year, they wouldn't do it. Said, hey, look, like, just go back and interview again. So you have all these thoughts and things going through your mind, right? It's like, hey, should I chase the dream and play professionally? Should I take this new road, this new step and start at Wells Fargo? There was a lot going on. And I think, I ended up making a really good decision for me. I still play a good bit of golf. So I obviously took the job, had a great senior year. And I started, June 1 at Wells Fargo. No sleep for the weary. Um, so, that's a little bit about my story. Definitely up and down, but super grateful for all those, experiences.
Dude, that's incredible. I did not know that you had such a roller coaster journey throughout college, to be completely honest
Yeah.
with you. And I forget about the COVID years. I just forget about that all the time when I talk to people. It's like, oh yeah, COVID. Oh yeah, it ruined a year or two about playing. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Now that I think back, I think it's been 6 years since COVID, so
Yeah.
it's just nuts. But man, incredible. So you had a unique transition. You had a unique journey. So I want you to talk a little bit about what made your transition successful between
Yeah.
moving from college to the professional ranks as a corporate investment banker.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, I think how I even found out about corporate banking, right? Because everybody's so familiar with the investment banking, the consulting, right, of the world. I knew that I didn't want the work life, 100 hours, 90 hours a week potential that investment banking brought. I knew consulting maybe was a little bit broad for me. So I knew I kind of wanted something in banking or finance, but just not investment banking. And so I remember getting back my senior year and I was like catching up with another girl who I was in school with. And she said, hey, I was at corporate banking at Wells. Like, here's what we did. We got paid a good bit, but it was like intellectually stimulating, all those good things you want to hear as a kid looking for a job. But so I end up basically through my network, like applying for this corporate banking role that I knew very little about. But I was able to connect with Davidson alums prior to, kind of going through that formal process and got a lot of really good insight, had people kind of looking out for me, of course, and helping me along the way. So I would just say it started early on with really networking and connecting with other alums at Wells and just in the banking, sector as a whole. That really helped me because I kind of knew what to look out for. I knew what was important. And I knew what to study, just all those things that, you're not really going to know if, unless, somebody at the firm.
That brings up an incredible topic, an incredibly important topic to me, which is how important was networking to you when you were looking for your first job?
All right. Absolutely critical, crucial, however you wanna call it. It is so big, and, we're in the world of AI, Louis, where, people are like, "Hey, look, you gotta put keywords in a resume so it picks it up and you get the first round." Like, I always tell people, at least in my experience, like, we hire people who we know first, or at least get them the first round, right? You always wanna vet them and make sure they're a good culture fit too, and right, AI can do a lot of things, and I'm sure one day it'll say, "Hey, how your personality is on a scale of 1 to 5," but, for now, it can't, right? And so, I would harp on the fact that, look, connect with your alums, connect with people who you share something in common with. That way, they're more likely to reach out and catch up with you, and then it's something that you can, continue to carry on. But absolutely critical, and that's one skill that even today, Louis, that I try to spend 25% of my time, honestly, either reaching out to somebody new or networking. Like it's so important to build your network early on, and it's already starting to pay dividends for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a tremendous networker, and I think it is absolutely paying dividends for you early in your career. So, talk to me a little bit about that transition you made and that mindset and shift you made in identity coming from college sports into corporate investment banking and how you made that transition so successfully.
Yeah, I it's a great question. What comes to mind at the beginning was I was joining Wells Fargo at a time where the asset cap was still on, right? You're going through all this regulatory compliance stuff. But what's interesting, about a year in, it came off. And so now we're in this like kind of growth, growth, growth. And we knew it was coming off. So we are already preparing, hey, look, growth, win market share, do this, do that. It very much felt like you were a team trying to win a championship. And it still does feel that way, right? Like you got to do all the little things, or they're tracking call reports, or you're just trying to do everything to win. And I think I could kind of relate to that. Where like, right, like I'm practicing and playing, trying to win a golf tournament. But in this case, right, it's obviously in the banking world to win deals or to win whatever. So that part I was like able to get on board with, and it seemed natural transition. What was hard for me was as an athlete, right, in college, it's like, "Hey, I'm a golfer," and then maybe a little bit of school here, and my goal is to play pro golf. Well, it's, "Hey, I'm trying to build a career here. I play a little bit of golf on the side, but my you're starting to spend less and less time there." And it's like, "Hey, okay, my identity as a golfer, like, I still play golf, but is it really who I am?" And the answer is hopefully probably not. Um, and so you do start to kind of realize when you're at the office 5 days a week, right? It's like, hey, like what am I doing? Is it meaningful? What am I doing outside of work that allows me to kind of decompress and to reflect on what I'm doing every day? So that was the challenge more so when the winter came, the daylight got shorter. Hey, I can't go hit balls or I can't be really outside. Like what's my identity? What should I be doing? What do I enjoy outside of playing golf and working? I don't even enjoy working, but um, so those were the harder questions. And so I think through those experiences, you start to, I think you build relationships with people you're working with. Again, you're networking, you're seeing how other people handle it. And it's honestly one of the reasons how one of the ways I met you, Louis, through a mutual friend. And we've been able to talk about all kinds of stuff, and that's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly formed an incredible relationship, and Matt Copeland, friend of the pod, has been very instrumental in that. Obviously, you have given me some incredible golfing advice throughout the years, which has been so helpful. And I mean, you helped me beat Matt in 9 holes, so let's go. That's
Right.
a win for the team.
That's right.
I'm sure he's
That's
going to
right.
see this and be dirty over that. But yeah, man, Todd, so it sounds like your identity and has evolved very significantly throughout the years since leaving golf as a full-time athlete and then moving into a full-time corporate investment banker. The question that really comes to mind is, are you happier now that you're not a full-time athlete? And how's your identity with that transition today?
It's a great question. I would say there's parts of my life where I am happier, and there's parts of your life, right, where you look back and go, wow, like maybe I wish I was doing that or still could do it, right? I would say on the golf course now, the weight is off the shoulders, right? There's not much pressure. Like I'm going professional. I need to hit perfect shots. I need to make birdies. I need to win tournaments. Like there's none of that. It's a lot more go out, enjoy yourself. So from that standpoint, my life, and it's still something I do a lot, right? Today is to play a good bit of golf. So that's been really enjoyable. And to getting to meet new people there, to, have those experiences, it's been great. I would say again, outside of work though, right, like, you have to be intentional of your time, otherwise the days just go by just like that, and you're going, "Hey," like, "Wow, it was just last week, and all I've done is sit in the office," right, or sit down on my couch and watch TV. So, I would say there are parts of my life where I'm happier now, but I've had to be more intentional with my free time because I feel like as a college athlete, you're so scheduled. "Hey, I'm working out in the morning. Hey, I need to eat lunch before practice, and I need to study, then I need to hit the bed and do it all over again." With work, things come up, emails say late in the day. You don't know when exactly you're going to be logging off. You don't know, hey, am I, meeting friends for dinner? Like, can I do that? Can I not? So I would just say it varies, but largely when I was able to get my good routine and be intentional with my time, I've definitely become happier.
Okay, awesome. So, talk to me a little bit about some of the skills that translate from being an athlete to being a professional corporate investment banker. What are the top two skills you think translate the best?
I would say communication
Love that.
and maybe like responsibility, like kind of
Mm,
owning up for taking accountability. Maybe accountability is the word I'm looking for. So communication and accountability. I I've never seen somebody over communicate when I'm working with, and I think people really like it when they're in the loop. They know what's going on. And then an accountability, right? People are going to make mistakes, especially when you're starting your career. You may make a mistake you don't even know, right? Like until somebody says, "Hey, like we should do it this way," or whatnot. And so I would say those two skills. And I think as an athlete, right, especially team sports, communication is crucial. Accountability is crucial. Even in individual sports that like golf, like accountability, like, you're still accountable for your actions, integrity, like on the golf course, like you're constantly being accountable. So those two things come to mind with me.
one of the beautiful things, completely agree. One of the most beautiful things about golf and being really good at golf is that you can play the sport forever. And it's extremely sociable. It's also good for networking and business development. So good for you. But I mean, it's just a sport that you can truly enjoy forever. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you picked a really good one there. Tell me, what is a typical day in the life of a corporate investment banker?
Yeah. I love saying this because it does vary. But here's kind of how my life is. I live in South End, Charlotte. For those who know, all most of the buildings people work are in Uptown. So I take the rail in, probably takes me 20 minutes from my apartment to the office. So I probably get up about 7:30, try to get out the door 8:15, get in the office about 8:45 to 9 o'clock, you know, work most of the day till probably about 5 or 5:30. I'll try to get to a place where I can log off and then go home, either work out, go to golf balls, like go on a walk, go on a run, like do something outside if I can. And so from that like 5:30 to about 8:39, I try to just not look at work or the phone. And sometimes, right, like you naturally look at your phone, but that's okay. I'll forgive myself. But from about 9, like after I've eaten something or I'm actively eating something, I'll get the laptop up and just kind of make sure that I'm not missing anything or have more work to do before I hit the bed about 11 or 11:30. So that's a typical day. What I would say is the corporate investment bank. So there are certain roles where you travel and you're a little bit more client facing. So they call that at Wells Fargo like the relationship management side. So that's been a new role for me over the last 3 or 4 months. So more travel days, right, from Grand Rapids to Minneapolis so there's another added layer of like, hey, like travel days can be long, especially when you're just flying up for a lunch or some kind of work meeting for an hour or 2. But I would say, what we just talked about, that's largely the schedule.
Okay, cool. What are you most looking forward to as you grow in your career?
I would just say meeting really cool, interesting people that can help you along the way. Louis Baker could be classified as one of those. We know Louis is going to do something cool down the road, especially with this pod we're on now. But I would just say being able to hear people's experiences and try to apply or take a little portion of that and apply it to your own, that's been really cool and beneficial for me. As an athlete, you're kind of just going like, hey, what are the top people? What are they doing? What do they use? You're studying them a lot. And I think in the working world, right, there's just like this whole cache of people who kind of do what you do or do something a little bit differently. But you can kind of take those same skills or experiences and apply them in your own life, or like be like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Or like, no, that's not what I want to do, or not how I would do it. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is just continuing to build those relationships. Like, everybody's looking for the work-life balance, but when you first start your career, you really have to focus on, hey, look, how do I grind? How do I build my brand? That's a big thing we like to focus on, and I like to focus on, is just, how can I do that early on to where it benefits me later with as I continue to meet more people.
Okay. I love that. One of the best piece of advice that I ever got when I was coming through at the beginning of my career was look at a couple people that do your job really well that you admire and emulate as much of it as you can. What's some really good advice that you got?
Yes, that is absolutely the case. I would say too, Ted Lasso comes to mind, like mind of a goldfish. Like, you're gonna make mistakes, flush it down the toilet, own up to it, and let's keep going. So from the standpoint of like everybody's gonna make mistakes, perfection. We all try to be perfect. It's just not possible. So just kind of flush it down the toilet, have the mind of a goldfish, and just keep moving. The other part of it though is like continue to network. Um, I just can't say that enough. We so many people want different roles at the bank, but they're like, "Hey, I don't see the application open." I was like, the interviewing's happening behind when you're networking with all these people, because when the application opens, like chances are they already have a few folks in mind who've been networking and interviewing, and you've got no shot when it first opens. So um, that's the best piece of advice I would say, is to spend 25 to 50% of your time in some form of networking or getting to know other people who you work with.
I agree. And it's good professionally, but it's also really good personally. Sometimes you make great friends from it. Look at that. But yeah, no, hey, Brian, honestly, man, this has been terrific. I think you've given some really great insights here to those people who are trying to move into the next stage of their career and beyond sports. So really appreciate your time, man. And thank you so much for coming on the pod today.
Absolutely. I look forward to this pod blowing up, Louis, not from this episode, but from other ones. No, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining today and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great weekend.